It's interesting, I guess. I made a comment before. I might come back from New Zealand after hearing this today. This is the second time where I've actually sat through a project and was kind of like gushing about it. Airtal had one, I believe it was later last year. This project is good on every level. There is absolutely nothing I can see as to why it should not be approved. When I met with Craig and Andrew Junius last Tuesday, I really didn't understand the story behind the story. You know, developers are developers, and some of them are, you know, give back to the community, et cetera. And I kind of got a flavor for what, you know, Craig had done for the neighborhood with the hall and some of the things that the partners that they did. They showed me that screenshot with all the logos of all the businesses or all the nonprofits that they worked with. But when I actually sit here today and hear what he did, it's like, wow, it's like 10 times deeper than I even imagined. So I think somebody said value in action. You put your values to action, especially when that individual said that you went out to the people in front who were dealing drugs and you tried to offer them a job or get them help for a job. I thought that was remarkable. I mean, a lot of people would just kind of, you know, call the police and get them out of there. That's amazing. And you work with the police, amazing. Stakeholder capital invested in the community. I mean, union labor, everything is just absolutely right for this project. And I'll let another commissioner, somebody behind me, make the motions for approval and let them talk.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much. I'm also supportive of this project. I'm highly thankful to everyone who came out for public comment. It's really good, often with a project like this, to, one, see solidarity, and other times to see a little bit of the story behind the story, as Commissioner Richards pointed to. I'd be happy to make some motions to move this project. But before I do that, it seems we're going to take the action on the final EIR first, and then on the project?
Yeah, separate actions on item 11 and then items 12A through D.
Okay, so I'll just make a quick comment and then I'll move on the final EIR first, and then maybe we can come back around to the project because I have a couple comments there. So on the final EIR, I think we've seen the draft, believe it's adequate under CEQA, and the only thing I would say is that there was a lot of space spent in both the EIR itself and also the response to comments from the EIR on the preservation of sort of the cultural assets in this district, even though this building itself doesn't really maintain integrity and it's not physically subject to sort of maybe the historic registry because of the changes that have occurred in the building over time. I would hope that the interpretive program, which was not detailed in the EIR and didn't need to be, will sufficiently provide some of the feeling and association of this cultural district for this area. So I would hope that staff, actually I would love to see a report back when that interpretive program is created, just to see, you know, what are some of the elements that make a proper interpretive program for a mitigation of that sort. I think that this would be a really great example for the future because there were a lot of issues around that area for this particular project. So I'll move to certify the final EIR.
Second.
Commissioner Koppel.
Thanks again to staff and the public for the work on the environmental impact report. This project has been going on for quite some time, and the longer it's been in the works, the more of a compliment I'm going to give to Craig and Ross for doing what they have done with the space. In San Francisco, we like to keep things local here in this small town, and I think Craig and Ross did a really fine job of supporting the local nonprofits, reusing the space to employ local family-owned restaurant businesses, incorporating local public art, and the use of local construction companies and local residents on the job. If you look closer in the packet, they're anticipating hiring 68 San Francisco residents to work on this project. So that's going to be a lot of employment opportunities for San Francisco residents. Definitely going to be in support of the project.
Okay. Commissioner Moore.
Strong support of the project. Also kudos to the environmental team. Reading through the response to comments, very thorough. All of the questions I at least asked, which were numerous, were all very well answered, and I think the project is as clear as it could be, given that we are mostly bombarded with things which we don't quite know how to field through these meetings. I think this is an exception, and not to talk about the story which comes with it, which is exemplary and wonderful.
Yeah. I just want to echo my fellow commissioner comments. We heard a little bit about the kind of affordable housing and potential acquisition fund. It's not necessarily in our purview that we're approving that, but I just wanted to ask a question on just how that may be administered in the future, because we've talked a lot about that here and potentially, small sites acquisition, and we think it's important to keeping people in their neighborhoods. So if you can just kind of talk a little bit about that and who may administer that and how it may work, it would be helpful.
Yes, so Craig Young with the project sponsor. So the fiscal agent is going to be Larkin Street Youth Services, so they're going to be the primary group to house the operation, if you will. And the basic idea is to create a partnership to try to come up with a way to create and preserve more affordable housing in the community with a focus on neighborhood-serving nonprofit as well. So the specifics of the plan today are sort of yet to be determined, but
Right.
I think the importance of the commitment is that it's ongoing. So it's a commitment to actually spending time and bring our expertise to the table alongside a lot of the folks that think about these things every day. And so, the idea here is to take a new, maybe more innovative approach to partnering with the community on an ongoing basis and moving away from a static point in time, zero-sum negotiation. That's the idea.
Great, thank you. I just also want to point out, I appreciate your kind of commitment to Market Street as a retail corridor. Obviously, it's an extremely important corridor for us, and how you've kind of programmed out the retail on the ground floor. I mean, obviously, you've proven yourself with the hall, so we look forward to that activation on the ground floor. But I'm fully supportive. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much. So we already have the motion on the floor for the final EIR. I'll just make some quick comments, I think, about the project itself, maybe make a motion there as well. So on the design, I think this is something where the staff can continue to work. 1020, this project, fully supportive of the addition of the housing, of the essentially the topography of how it's going to shift Market Street, but it's starting to look a little wall-like for lack of a better term. And I think that there's probably some work that could be done on the design, either through the facade or of the building itself, or through the public art requirement. We're going to hear that item next, but the design for the public art is sort of reminiscent of a marquee, kind of. And I think that if there were a little bit more work done on the scale, horizontally, or the scope of that piece, that might do a lot to break up the design without having to do anything physically to the building. So I would ask that staff really work with the project sponsor on the design, either through changes to the building itself, cornice or facade work, or in changing the orientation or design of the public art piece, which we'll hear next, to sort of elevate the design a little bit and break up some of that, break up some of the facade that's building up along that portion of Market Street.
I just want to clarify, Commissioner
Yes.
Johnson, the public art component is part of what we're hearing now,
did we
too. So if you
already
have
hear
questions
12E?
on it, yeah.
Oh,
You
okay.
did.
Okay, fantastic. I thought we were hearing 12E next. Okay. So I guess then maybe I might ask the artist and or the project sponsor.
You call a question first?
What?
If you've got a question, sure.
No, I was just wondering, aren't we first calling the question and then moving on? Because there is a motion on the
We do.
table.
We'll have to approve them sequentially.
Sequentially.
E, and then, item 11, and then items 12A through E.
Right.
There's a motion for item 11, but we can wait and call that
Oh, you're
when
saying
there's
call
a
the
motion
question on the
also
EIR?
for
Just
item.
get that over with, then we can move on, then we know.
Well, let me finish my statement and then we can do that. Okay. All right. So I think I've asked my question. I guess we can call a question on that and then go back to the sort of design issue. I don't think it's a game stopper for making a motion today, but I think it's important. So why don't we take a pause on that.
Do you want to call item 11, Jonas?
Yes, please, then, Commissioners. There's a motion that has been seconded to certify the final environmental impact report. On that motion, Commissioner Fong?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Koppel?
Aye.
Commissioner Melgar?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
And Commission President Hillis?
Aye.
So moved, Commissioners. That motion passes unanimously 7-0.
Okay, and there are further comments and questions on item 12. Commissioner Moore.
I wanted to pick up on what Commissioner Johnson said. I appreciated her asking some questions about the architecture of the building. I spent an extended time yesterday with Mr. Forgan, the architect, and I had a very interesting discussion with him. We're just posing questions and going through some ideas of how he created the ideas about the building, the facade, the different orientations of the building. Was so thoughtful, and he himself left it kind of open that there is additional work to be done. I kind of don't want to interfere because your recommendation to have him work with staff a little bit more, I think from my perspective, was fully answered. It's a complicated building. It is always difficult when you're in a historic district. You need to find like commonality in the particular Market Street facade expression, but you also need to kind of move it to where it is workable relative to its use, including the units that are basically the primary use of the building on the upper floors. I'm comfortable to support the building as it is proposed, with the caveat that there would be some additional tweaking and development of particular aspects of the fenestration and facade as he goes on, because when this building moves from the very big ideas which we're looking at today into design development and construction drawings, that's when I think those questions should be further vetted with people in the department. Does that?
I think we are saying the same thing. All right.
I think we are.
I think that's all right.
Commissioner Johnson.
All right, thank you. I think I agree with Commissioner Moore. I think we're saying the same thing. I think the message has been given, and so I will make a motion to approve items 12A, B, C, D, and E.
Second.
Just for clarity, Commissioners, you'll be adopting findings for 12A, approving the determination of compliance with conditions for 12B, as well as 12C for the conditional use authorization. The zoning administrator will be reviewing 12D, and 12E was just an informational presentation.
Oh, so not D and E. Sorry.
So A through
12A,
C.
and
A through C.
A through C. Yes.
Shall I call that question,
Please.
Commissioners? On that motion, then, to adopt finding and approve with conditions items 12A through C, Commissioner Fong?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Koppel?
Aye.
Commissioner Melgar?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
And Commission President Hillis.
Aye.
So moved, Commissioners. That motion passes unanimously 7-0. Zoning Administrator, what say you?
Close public hearing, inclined to grant the requested variance.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I think the commission will take a 45-minute break, so we'll be back here around 3:35.